On to chapter 4 of Psycho-Cybernetics. The chapter we have today is Dehypnotize Yourself from False Beliefs. And this is perhaps the most important chapter, because if you simply listen to this stuff, if you simply do this stuff, everything else in your life will be perfect. The more you dwell on negativity, the more you believe yourself to be not capable of this, not capable of that, the more you're limiting yourself in your day-to-day. If you follow this, if you listen to this, everything else will be well worth it, because your life will be something that you can face. You know, however good you are right now, if you can face something and you can face something with a positive outlook, then you can respond with a better sense of direction, with a better sense of rationality. This is perhaps the biggest thing that has changed for me in this book, is that I don't necessarily see failure or setbacks or things that I can't do as something that's insurmountable. I just see it as something that I need to work towards. So that's the quick, short definition of the chapter. If you want to click off now, go ahead, click off now, but we're going to get really deep into this topic. My friend Dr. Alfred Adler. Adler is one of the top 3 psychologists of all time. There's Freud, there's Jung, and then there's Adler. I have not read Adler myself, but I am excited to pick him up very soon. My friend Dr. Alfred Adler had an experience when a young boy which illustrates just how powerful belief can be upon behavior and ability. He got off to a bad start in arithmetic, and his teacher became convinced that he was dumb in mathematics. The teacher then advised the parents of this fact and told them not to expect too much of him. They were too convinced. Adler passively accepted the evaluation they had placed upon him, and his grades in arithmetic proved that they had been correct. One day, however, he had a sudden flash of insight and thought he saw how to work a problem the teacher had put on the board, and which none of the other pupils could work. He announced as much to the teacher. She and the whole class laughed, whereupon he became indignant, strode to the blackboard, and worked the problem, much to their amazement. In doing so, he realized that he could understand arithmetic. He felt a new confidence in his ability and went to become a good math student. Okay, that story is very important. It's very significant. It's obviously a really simple example. It's obviously a really easy example, but it's things like this that really hamper us for the rest of our lives. Because think about it this way. Let's say the student didn't have that experience. Let's say the student didn't understand that he was good at math. Well, for the rest of his time while he's in school, he's saying, I'm not good at math. I can't do this. I can't do that. You know, it's time to apply to college. And maybe he thinks, you know what? I can't go to college because I'm not good at math. I can't do this because I'm not good at this. I can't do this because I'm not good at this. And let's say he's not even going to college, but for the rest of his life he thinks he's dumb because he didn't understand numbers. And all it was a belief he believed about himself because he had one bad experience. And that's what makes this chapter so significant, because it's the things that we believe about ourselves that we allow to solidify that will limit us for the rest of our lives. Dr. Adler's experience was very much like that of a patient of mine some years back, a businessman who wanted to excel in public speaking because he had a vital message to impart about his outstanding success in a difficult field. He had a good voice and an important topic, but he was unable to get up in front of strangers and put his message over. What held him back was his belief that he could not make a good talk and that he would fail to impress his audience. Simply because he did not have an imposing appearance, he did not look like a successful executive. This belief had burrowed so deeply into him that it threw up a roadblock every time he stood up before a group of people and began to talk. He mistakenly concluded that if he could have an operation to improve his appearance, he would then gain the confidence he needed. An operation might have done the trick and it might not. My experience with other patients had shown that physical change did not always guarantee personality change. The solution in this man's case was found when he became convinced that his negative belief was preventing him from delivering the vital information he had. He succeeded in replacing the negative belief with a positive belief that he had a message of extreme importance and that he alone could deliver no matter what he looked like in due time. He was one of the most sought-after speakers in the business world. The only change was in his belief and in his self-image. And theoretically, I'm just guessing, I don't know exactly what Dr. Maxwell Maltz told him, but more or less he probably just said, look, you got to imagine yourself doing it already. You got to imagine yourself having gone out there and given the speech, because that little bit of mental practice is more significant than any physical practice you could do. And let's say you go in your mind, you give your speech, you have already had somewhat of an experience of doing it, so when you actually do it, it's that much less scary. And that's probably what he suggested him to do, and that kind of dovetails into the last chapter, chapter 3, so check out that video as well if you were interested in what I just said. Now, this point I want to make, Now, the point I want to make is this. Adler had been hypnotized by a false belief about himself. Not figuratively, but literally and actually hypnotized. Remember that we have said in last chapter the power of hypnosis is the power of belief. Let me repeat here Dr. Barber's explanation of the power of hypnosis. We found that in hypnotic subjects are able to do surprising things only when convinced the hypnotist's words are true statements. When the hypnotist has guided the subject to the point where he is convinced the hypnotist's words are true, the subject then behaves differently because he thinks and believes differently. So what he's saying here is that we all hypnotize ourselves with the beliefs we have about ourselves. Like, you believe yourself to be not successful. You believe yourself to not be able to do this or that. And, if you keep telling yourself for the rest of your life that idea, then it will hypnotize you. Then it will solidify. Then it will become a part of your personality. But if you want to change the way that you view yourself, if you want to change your actual, personality, then change the way you speak about yourself. Change the ideas you hold about yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to believe something positive. Just don't believe something negative. I think that's really the key with all of these ideas. It's that people believe negative things and they're like, it's impossible for me to believe something positive. Okay, you don't have to believe something positive. Just don't allow yourself to be limited. If you're bad at something, say, I'm not good at this right now. I can't do this right now. I struggle with this, so that means I have to put in a little extra work. Like, that's not a bad thing. And I want you to start changing the way you define yourself. Change the way that you speak about yourself. Change the limitations you place on yourself. Like, I'm not somebody that's good at clerical work. I'm not somebody that's good at organizing things and keeping track of all of them and doing like the grunt work and the nonsensical work and the work that you don't have to think about. So what do I have to do? Well, I tell myself I don't like this kind of stuff, but it's the necessary steps I need to do in order to organize everything else that I'm trying to do. So it's really just the way we talk about ourselves. It's really just the way that we do things. It's really just the way that we carry ourselves and the way that we internalize these things. The book goes on to continue about salesmen and their limiting beliefs, how false belief aged a man 20 years. These are all interesting case studies. I don't really want to get into them because I think we already went over 2 case studies, so we're going to get into the more meat and potatoes of this book. But obviously, if you want to get into this book and get into these examples more in depth, go ahead and pick it up for yourself. I don't want to read a whole chapter. I can't really do that with this book. I did it with Power Awareness, but this one's a little longer. Is everyone hypnotized? It's no exaggeration to say that every human being is hypnotized to some extent, either by ideas he has uncritically accepted from others or ideas he has repeated to himself or convinced himself are true. These negative ideas have exactly the same effect upon our behavior as the negative ideas implanted into the mind of a hypnotized subject by a professional hypnotist. Repetition of a message constitutes social programming, okay? I need you to understand that the more you hear an idea, the more willing you will be to accept it. And that's something that we've just slowly been programmed with our entire lives. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, people say programmed is a bad thing. It's like, imagine if you told yourself you're strong, worthy, capable, and confident your entire life. I promise you your life would be better than it is right now. But because you've instilled these more negative beliefs, because you've allowed more negative beliefs to fester and grow and have roots in your head, it's held you back. And that's really all this chapter is about. It's about shifting your more negative beliefs to at least neutral or positive beliefs. The hypnotist tells a football player that he has his hand stuck to a table and then he cannot lift it. It is not a question of the football player not trying, he simply cannot. He strains and struggles on the muscle of his arm and shoulders stand out like cords, but his hand remains fully rooted to the table. He tells a championship weightlifter he cannot lift a pencil from the desk, and although normally he can hoist a 400-pound weight overhead, he now actually cannot lift the pencil. Strangely enough, in the instances above, hypnosis does not weaken the athletes. They are potentially as strong as ever, but without realizing it consciously, they are working against themselves. And more or less what he says is that you are doing this with your day-to-day. You are telling yourself things that are holding you back. You are telling yourself things that in some way is limiting you, in some way is keeping you from being everything that you can be. And I think this is one of the most important things you'll ever hear, because it's not necessarily the things you do on a daily basis that will transform your life. It's how you view yourself. Because you can do a good set of actions, but if you don't do a good set of actions with the right intention and the right order, you're eventually going to give up. I like to liken it to the idea of like everything derives from thought. So if you think you're good enough, if you think you're capable, then you're going to be acting like somebody that has planned it out, like somebody that has the experience, like somebody that's going to do something right. Where if you do it without the intention, if you do it without the ideas, if you do it without believing it's possible, it won't be possible. You can cure your inferiority complex. At least 95% of people have their lives blighted by feelings of inferiority to some extent, and millions this same feeling of inferiority in a serious handicap to success and happiness. In one sense of the word, every person on the face of the earth is inferior to some other person or persons. I know that I cannot lift as much weight as Paul Anderson, throw a 16-pound shot put as far as Perry O'Brien, or dance as well as Arthur Murray. I know this, but it does not induce feelings of inferiority within me and blight my life, simply because I do not compare myself unfavorably with them and feel that I am not good merely because I cannot do certain things as skillfully or as well as them. I also know that in certain areas, every person I meet, from the newsboy on the corner to the president of the bank, is superior to me in certain respects. But neither can any of these people repair a scarred face or do any number of things I do as well as I. And I am sure they do not feel inferior because of it. So really what he's saying here is so important because we compare ourselves to other people that aren't us. And you can always judge someone based off of who they are, but it's the wrong perspective to judge them from because, are you this person? Do you have every experience this person has? Do you have every benefit this person has? Do you have every genetic gift this person has? And if the case is no, then you can't compare yourself because that's an entire different category. That's something that you will never measure up to because it's not possible. And it's the acceptance of this idea. It's the acceptance of, do you enjoy what you do? Do you have fun doing it? Are you happy with the person you are? Like we need to stop comparing ourselves to others and start comparing ourselves to what it is that we want to do. Because Earl Nightingale said it best, the successful person is the person who's a doctor because he wanted to be a doctor, or a teacher because he wanted to be a teacher. Like we all have our own unique gifts and we all are put here to exemplify those unique gifts. But the minute we start comparing is the minute we start denying our capability to achieve more. You're judging someone based off other people's metrics. Judge yourself based off your own metrics. Are you living up to the person that you know you can be? Inferiority and superiority are reverse sides of the same coin. The cure lies in realizing that the coin itself is spurious. The truth about you is, you are not inferior, you are not superior, you are simply you. You as a personality are not in competition with any other personality simply because there is not another person on the face of the earth like you or in your particular class. You are an individual. You are unique. You are not like any other person and can never become like any other person. You are not supposed to be like any other person and no other person is supposed to be like you. God did not create a standard person and in some way label that person by saying this is it. He made every human being an individual, unique just as he made every snowflake individual and unique. God created short people and tall people, large people and small people, skinny people and fat people, black, yellow, red, and white people. He had never indicated any preference for any one size, shape, or color. Abraham Lincoln once said, God must have loved the common people for he made so many. He was wrong. There is no common man, there no standardized common pattern. He would have been nearer the truth had he said, God must have loved uncommon people for he made so many of them. An inferiority complex and its accompanying deterioration in performance can be made to order in the psychological laboratory. All you need to do is set up a norm or average, then convince your subject he does not measure up. So what he's saying here is very important because you can literally define these ideas that we compare ourselves by. So think of the things you compare yourself to others with. Maybe it's your job, maybe it's your social status, maybe it's the things you have, the money you make, the house you have, the groups you belong to. We oftentimes like to group ourselves by these arbitrary values, and however we stack up through these arbitrary values is how we value ourselves. But really what Dr. Maxwell Maltz is saying is that drop all of this stuff. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stop comparing yourself to anyone saying, I'm better than this person, I'm better than this person, I'm worse than this person. Because, even if you're saying you're better than someone, you're inherently going to find someone that exceeds your current level of capabilities, and you're going to be like, well, I'm worse than this person. Like, I could say I have more money than somebody that, is on the streets, but why don't I compare myself to Elon Musk? And I'm literally a speck of sand in the entire ocean of comparison to that guy's wealth. So it's like, we can always compare, but it's never going to get us anywhere good. It's never going to bring us any happiness. Comparison is the thief of joy, as Teddy Roosevelt said. How to use relaxation to dehypnotize yourself. Physical relaxation plays a key role in the dehypnotization process. Our currently held beliefs, whether good or bad or true or false, were formed without effort, with no sense of strain, and without the exercise of willpower. Our habits, whether good or bad, are formed in the same way. It follows that we must employ the same process in forming new beliefs or new habits, that is, in a relaxed condition. So he's going to go through different examples and different ideas of meditation. All I want you to think about is when you force something, it's resisted. So, my favorite way to change my beliefs about something is to go into a meditation and really break down why I believe something and really understand where it comes from. Why do I feel so inferior about this? Why do I worry about this so much? Why is this? Why is this? And I always like to reframe it in this state because it allows me to break the chain of anxiety. It allows me to break that negative thought loop because it's really easy to get over negative thoughts when it's just something like really stupid. It's like, oh, I don't have $1 billion. Like, who does? You know what I mean? But it's another thing when you are looking for things in your life and finding negativity. So the easiest ways I find to break these negative thought loops is to go into a meditative state and kind of just laugh at how silly the ideas were. He's about to explain some practice exercises. Really, the last one is the only one I would do. The other ones kind of seem silly and don't seem as productive. But basically, this chapter is a tremendous one because it talks about negative beliefs, how to overcome negative beliefs. And, the true fact is most of our negative beliefs come from living in the past or living in the future. That's really what it is. Like, if you are in the now, then you have the capability to change. But if you are in the past or the future, you don't have the capability to do anything. And what I mean by this is, if you're dwelling on something that has happened, as Heraclitus said, you can never step in the same river twice. You can never recreate the exact circumstances to change that thing, so you have to accept it. And it's the same thing with the future. You're looking at the future as a projection of the past. The future is merely an assumption that everything that has happened till now will continue into the future, and all my mistakes will project onto that. And the truth is, you can change in this moment. You can adapt who you are. You can fundamentally transform the person you are, the actions that you take, the things that you do on a daily basis. So to bring the future into the present is to deny your capability to change. Neville Goddard said it tremendously when he said, every man's destiny is set in stone until he changes his self-belief, until he changes his I am. And this is really what this chapter is talking about. So on to the practice exercises, and then I'll give some of my advice on them, whether they're good, whether they're bad. But yeah, practice exercise. To be practiced for at least 30 minutes daily. Sit yourself comfortably in an easy chair or lie down on your back. Consciously let go of the various muscle groups as much as possible without making too much of an effort of it. Just consciously pay attention to the various parts of your body. Let go a little. You will find that you can always voluntarily relax to a certain degree. You can stop frowning and let your forehead relax. You can ease up a little your tension in your jaws. You can let your hands, your arms, your shoulders, legs become a little more relaxed than they are. Spend about 5 minutes on this and stop paying attention to anything stop paying any attention to your muscles. This is as far as you are going to try to be conscious from here. To try to go by conscious control. From here on, you will relax more and more by using your creative mechanism to automatically bring about a relaxed condition. In short, you're going to use goal pictures held in imagination and let your automatic mechanism realize those goals for you. Okay. What he's basically teaching you how to do is meditate, more or less. Just think of meditation as the state where your brain isn't thinking. And if your body's relaxed, it's a whole lot easier to relax your mind. There's some esoteric principle that if you relax your body, your mind will relax. Think of yoga. That's really what he's talking about. But mental picture number 1. In your mind's eye, see yourself lying stretched out upon the bed. Form a picture of your legs as they would look if made of concrete. See yourself lying with 2 very heavy concrete legs. So basically what he's saying here is you're going to show yourself how limiting your beliefs can become and you're going to show yourself how powerful your mind is. I don't really recommend doing this. I think we have enough stress, we have enough things in our life that are holding us back. So we're going to skip to mental picture number 3. Actually mental picture number 4, because the other ones, they don't really, I don't really think they do anything positive. And again, you can go back, reread them for yourself, but I'm trying to talk about the most positive aspects. Mental picture number 4. Many people find this the most relaxing of all. Just go back in the memory to some relaxing and pleasant scene from your past. There was always some time in everyone's life that he felt relaxed, at ease, and at peace with the world. Pick out your own relaxing picture from your past and call upon detailed memory images. Yours may be a peaceful scene at a mountain lake where you went fishing. If so, pay particular attention to the little incidental things in the environment. Remember the quiet ripples on the water. What sounds were present? Did you hear the quiet rustling of leaves? Maybe you remember sitting perfectly relaxed and somewhat drowsy before an open fireplace long ago. Did the logs crackle and spark? What other sights and sounds were present? Maybe you choose to remember relaxing in the sun on a beach. How did the sand feel against your body? Could you feel the warm, relaxing sun? Daily practice will bring these mental pictures and memories clearer and clearer. The effect of learning will also be cumulative. Practice will strengthen the tie between mental images and physical sensation. You'll become more and more proficient in relaxation, and this in itself will be remembered in future practice sessions. Okay, so the ending I'm going to tie together with the rest of the chapter because it doesn't seem to have a very concrete correlation, but really what he's saying to do is the better you can relax is the better you can respond in times of crisis, in times of negativity. And it's always when you can take a step back and observe that you can see how negative you're being, that you can see how fickle or stupid you're being. And it's only in these moments where we can kind of laugh at ourselves and kind of have fun with it, because negativity is really buying into the seriousness of the world. I really and wholly believe that's the truth. Think about the times where you're stressed out about money. Think about the times where you're stressed out about a job. It's always when you're dealing with the world of Caesar, as Neville would say, dealing with the things that we believe are important. But, the more importance you assign to them is the more stress they will carry. And I don't know about you, but I can't deal with circumstances if I'm stressed out. I can't deal with problems as well as I would otherwise be able to if I was just present in the moment there, not worrying about things, because then I can give the best answer. Then I can give the best response. Then whatever it is that I'm trying to tackle, whatever it is that I'm trying to do, I can use rationality. I can use calmness. I can use perspective. I can take a step back and look at the whole scenario and make the best decision based off of that. So that's what he's talking about in terms of relaxation. More or less, he taught you to meditate. He taught you a meditative practice, and he taught you a visual. Oh my God, I've been talking for 23 minutes, so I can't say visualization. That's bad. Hopefully nobody made it this far so that nobody can make fun of me, but I'm going to see a comment, I know it. But basically what he's saying is that if you can imagine yourself to be happy, if you can imagine yourself to be relaxed, then you can be relaxed. And the more you can practice this idea, the more you can do this in your day-to-day life. The more you meditate, the easier it is to meditate. Like, there are entire periods throughout my day where I am more or less meditating, but I wouldn't call it that just because my mind is so relaxed, just because I'm in that meditative-like state. So this was a very important chapter, and really what I want to leave you guys with is you don't have to break negative beliefs and replace them with good ones. Just ignore them, okay? Replacing negative beliefs with positive beliefs is something that is a lot more difficult. If you can't seem to find a positive spin on it, just disregard it. Just get over it and understand that it's a process to build yourself up, and understand that eventually one day the things that you face will just feel like specks of dust in the grand scheme of things. Like, think of all the things that happened to you in high school, or all the things that happened to you in middle school. Like, do you even remember the problems? Do you even remember the drama that you thought was the end of the world? And that's what these problems will be if you get over them. Once you face your problem, then it shrinks. Then it disappears. With that said, I love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Peace out. I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned for chapter 5. Hopefully it's not as long. I'm losing my voice right now, but peace out.